Welcome to the Genealogy Gems podcast, providing quick and innovative ways to make the absolute most out of your research time and creative ideas for sharing and displaying your family history. I'm your host, Lisa Louise Cook. Welcome to episode 33 of the Genealogy Gems podcast. This week has been really flying by. I don't know, why does it seem like that the older you get, the faster the time goes? It's certainly been the case with me, but I've got lots to talk about this week. And first, I want to say hello to all of you new Genealogy Gems email newsletter subscribers. We just got a flood of new folks signing up this last week. Maybe it was a sugar rush from all that Halloween candy, I don't know. But anyway, I'm glad that you've joined our jolly group of Genealogy Gems. If you are on the mailing list for the free Genealogy Gems email newsletter, then you read about me being in kind of a reminiscing sort of mood lately. And that led me to posing some questions about which ancestor you would like to have the chance to ask a question of again. And if you could do that, what the question would be. I got some great responses from the newsletter readers, and I wanted to post them to share with all of you. Well, even though I publish the podcast in a blog format, I've been really reluctant to post written blogs on that page because I don't want to make it more difficult for you to find the episodes that you're looking for amongst, all kinds of comments and news and such. So I've started up a new blog on the website called Genealogy Gems News. And the first article that you'll find there is called Ancestors on Line 1. It includes the article from the newsletter as well as some of the great responses that I got about who you would like to talk to of your ancestors. You've probably noticed that I don't cover news items very often in the podcast. The problem with covering news is that news changes every day and it becomes outdated. Since we're getting new listeners all the time and they start with the first episode and they listen their way up to the current episode, new items would be kind of a lot of chatter about stuff that's really old news. But the blog gives me a great place where I can share news items with you as they happen. And because it's a blog, you can subscribe to it online and add the feed to your iGoogle homepage, or you could subscribe through an RSS feed reader. Now, to read the blog and get the feed, go to genealogygems.tv. And you'll see a box there announcing the blog. There'll be a little picture of a blue telephone. Eventually, I'm going to add a blog button on the navigation bar. So if you are listening to this later than the week it was published, here in November of 2007, keep an eye out for that blog button. Click the link, and it's going to take you to the blog page. And there you can click the Google icon to subscribe if you want to. In addition to news and special articles, I also really want to use the blog as sort of a meeting place for all of us. I've set it up to hopefully allow you to leave comments. I'm hoping that's going to work. And I'm really excited about posting surveys and reader polls there for you to answer. I've really been wanting to have a quick and easy way to find out what you like and what you think. So that is going to be terrific. I'm looking forward to it. If you haven't created your own genealogy iGoogle homepage, which I mentioned about how you could add the feed from this blog to that iGoogle homepage, just listen to episode 15. And of course, it's all covered step by step in my book, Genealogy Gems, Ultimate Research Strategies. And speaking of show notes, I just want to remind you that every podcast show has notes that go with it on the Genealogy Gems website. And this is where you'll find the highlights of what I cover, plus links to all the websites I talk about. So just go to www.genealogygems.tv and click the podcast button. And there's a little paragraph at the top of the page explaining how to find what you're looking for. And you can always listen to the current episode in the little radio, or what they call a media player, that you will see in the upper right corner of the page. Just press the play button twice and you can listen. I know for many of us, blogs and podcasts and all this new stuff on the internet can really be a bit confusing, and it even gets a little intimidating. But once you get the hang of it and how to find things, and it has become kind of a second nature to you, you'll be happy that she found out how to do it. And it does get very easy. And that's what's so great about the iGoogle homepage. It's going to put all of it right there at your fingertips on your internet window homepage. And speaking of news items, here is one of those rare news items that I will talk about in the podcast. Family Search and My Ancestors Found have just announced this November of 2007 that they are co-sponsoring the Family History Expo at the Dixie Convention Center in St. George, Utah. And that's going to be on February 8th and 9th of 2008. This is the big one for those of us who are living in the western part of the United States. And I'm very excited to let you know that I am going to be teaching a class on Google and using Google for your genealogy research. So if you'll want to learn all about iGoogle and all that stuff I was just telling you about up close and personal, then come to the conference and attend my class. I'd love to see you there. You can sign up now for the early bird price of $50. On December 1st, the cost goes up to $60, and registration is going to be $65 at the door, so it's worth signing up early. I'll have a link to the website at My Ancestors Found and all the information about the conference in the episode 33 show notes. Well, coming up next, we're going to have our first gem. I couldn't decide what to name it, so it's either This Old Dog Learned a New Trick or How I Got in Touch with My Own Podcast.
I've got a dog named Rover. Yeah, Rover. Come, Rover. He roams around all over. Just home 3 times a day. I'll bet he hears me whistling. See, the neighbors are listening. What do you mean you lost your dog? I hear the people say. Has anybody here seen Rover? I'm looking for him now all over. He's a hunter's dog, all right. He keeps me hunting day and night. This is what I worry over. Say, who put the rove in Rover? My whistle's getting dry. It seems as if I hear that mongrel whine. I should worry like a tree and have somebody trimming me. Where's that doggone dog of mine? I'm looking round all over. Here, Rover, come, Rover. I got him up in Dover, 100 miles away. Wait till he comes, I'll chain him. I'll train him. I'll brain him. What do you mean you lost your dog? Again I hear them say. Has anybody here seen Rover? I'm looking for him now all over. He's a hunter's dog, all right. He keeps me hunting day and night. This is what I worry over. Say, who put the rove in Rover? My whistle's getting dry. It seems as if I hear that mongrel whine. I should worry like a hen and scratch all day without a pen. Where's that doggone dog of mine?
That was What Do You Mean You Lost Your Dog? Performed by Edward Meeker. That was issued as an Edison Blue Amberol recording in 1913. Well, this gem's a little embarrassing for old Lisa to admit, but I just learned something new about my podcast. Now, as you know, I publish the podcast in a blog format, which makes publishing very easy. But it doesn't make retrieving an old episode very easy. The most recent podcast, is at the top of the podcast page, and they go backward in time as you go down the page. Well, after they are there about a month or so, they become archived by month. And you can try digging around the archives if you're looking for an old episode, but that could take forever, which I've done that. And the search box on the podcast page is good. But oftentimes the words you're looking for, they appear in several different episodes, and you're still digging around, and ultimately you end up with a list of all the episodes on one page that have that keyword. And oftentimes I just want to provide a link to one specific episode. But as I say, the search results page show all the episodes that have that keyword. So again, it's going to be confusing to anybody that you share it with. Needless to say, I know it can get pretty frustrating for you to find what you're looking for, and I feel your pain. Well, I just learned a new technique for retrieving a particular episode and being able to have just that one episode come up on the page. And this is great because it's easier to read through. And then you have a URL address in your browser, website address, that you can copy and paste, and you can send it to anybody that you want to share it with, and it will just include that one episode. So here's how to do it. From the genealogygems.tv homepage, click the podcast button, and that's, of course, going to take you to the podcast show notes page. Now, let's say that you're doing this week. You would see the show notes for episode 33 there at the top, and if you clicked that media player, you could listen to episode 33. And if you scroll down, you would find next episode 32 show notes, and then 31 show notes, and so on. And you'll see all the show notes for about the last 4 weeks. They're going to appear there. Anything older than that is going to be archived by month. But what if I want to see the show notes for episode 15 that I featured on iGoogle? You could dig around in those archives for the back issues, but that would take a long time. So what you should do is go down the right-hand side of the page, and you'll see the Genealogy Gems logo there. You'll see the media player, and then icons for subscribing through Google and Yahoo and My AOL for the podcast. And then you'll see the word syndication. Well, click on the orange RSS button that's right below the word syndication. And this opens up a page that gives you all the show notes in a simple text format. Now, there's a box in the upper right-hand corner of this new text page, and it says displaying. You just start typing iGoogle in the box, and it will immediately, as you're typing, start showing only episode notes that have that word or even part of that word. In the case of searching iGoogle, you'll see episode 31's listed first, and then you can scroll down and you'll see episode 15. Well, that's a lot like it is on the regular podcast page. But it has something better. When you click the blue title of the episode, such as episode 15, Genealogy Gems Podcast episode 15, and it's in blue, and you click that, you will get the complete episode 15 show notes on the original podcast page with all the graphics and everything. And at the end of the show notes, of course, is that download link for direct download of episode 15 if you want to listen to the episode or you want to save it to your hard drive of your computer. And this is how you can listen from the website, because the media player, of course, is always going to only be playing the most current episode. And in our case, that's episode 33. So the wonderful thing here is you've got a podcast page and it has just episode 15 on it. And it was pretty easy to get to. So now if you want to send someone a website link to just episode 15 because you know that they would like to read and hear about iGoogle, you can do it. And they will get the episode 15 page without a bunch of other stuff to confuse things. So just use your mouse to highlight the address of the web page. That's at the top of your screen in your web browser. It says http://genealogy gems, whatever. That's your URL address. You're going to drag across it with your mouse and highlight it. And then on your keyboard, press Control and the letter C at the same time. This is going to copy the address. It's now sitting on what they call the clipboard of your computer. It's just waiting there for you. Then you can open up an email and you can press Control and the letter V like Victor, and it will paste that website address right into the email, and it's there ready for your friend to click it and take them to episode 15 when they receive your email. This is going to make it so much easier for me to give you links to specific past episodes in the show notes when I'm talking about them without confusing them with all the other show notes. Dogs may be man's best friend, but I think the computer could end up being the genealogist's best friend. Here's a follow-up gem to the segment on the Library of Congress's American Memory Project from episode 32. Guess what? You can now add American Memory to your iGoogle page. Oh, I just love this one. This is great. Go to your iGoogle homepage. And of course, if you don't have one yet, go listen to episode 15 or check it out in the book and set one up for yourself. It's fairly quick and easy to do. And once it's done, and you can add whatever you want down the road. So you go to that iGoogle homepage, click the link in the upper right-hand corner that says Add Stuff. Don't you love Google? They make it very simple. Add Stuff. And in the upper right corner, you're going to see a search for gadgets box on that next page that pops up. Type in the words American Memory, and ta-da! Up pops the American Memory Search Gadget, which will allow you to search for documents in the Library of Congress American Memory Collection, right there from your home page. Now, just click the Add It Now button, and when you do that, it's going to turn yellow and it will say Added, so you know you've got it. And you don't do anything else. You just go back to your iGoogle homepage and you're going to find that new gadget right up there in the left-hand corner of your iGoogle page. And of course, you can drop and drag it anywhere you want as far as organizing it on your page, but it's right there before you're ready to go. You know, I've been recently researching my grandparents' employment at the Kaiser shipyards in Richmond during World War II. So I tried this. I typed Kaiser Richmond Shipyard in the box, and it took me straight to a page at the Library of Congress's American Memory section listing 13 items from the Richmond Kaiser shipyards. Everything from photos of employees building the great ships for those fighting the war to items from the Rosie the Riveter National Historical Park in Richmond. It was terrific. Try this one today. I know you're going to love it. Coming up next, the land where the podcasts never fade. Take just a few minutes to talk with you about how you can help me keep the Genealogy Gems podcast up and running for years to come. As you can imagine, there are costs associated with producing a free weekly podcast like this one. Now, adding commercials to a podcast is one way that podcasters oftentimes try to help pay the bills. But being an avid listener of podcasts myself, I know that I really don't like listening to commercials. If we wanted to do that, we'd listen to traditional radio stations. If you could even find one that ran a genealogy show. I like to think of podcasts as a much more personal and informative type of media, and commercials would really disrupt that. I've decided to take the route of advertising on the Genealogy Gems website in hopes of generating the revenue that it's going to take to keep the Genealogy Gems podcast going. So I want to explain how you can help generate that revenue at no additional cost to you. What brought this to mind is a recent email I received from Rich asking if Dear Myrtle was going to continue her genealogy podcast because she hadn't published for several weeks. He said he was getting worried because it seemed like the only other genealogy podcasters still podcasting were Genealogy Gems and the Genealogy Guys. I wrote him back and I explained that Dear Myrtle's father had passed away, and so she has taken some time off to be with her family and to make a move to another state. And thankfully, yes, I know she has plans to definitely return to podcasting. But it got me to wondering what has happened to the other genealogy podcasters. When you look at the list in iTunes, it looks pretty long at first, but a closer look reveals that indeed most of the genealogy podcasters have stopped publishing. In the podcasting world, this phenomenon is called pod fading. It's pretty understandable why it happens. Someone gets excited and they publish 6 or 7 episodes only to find out how much money and time and work is involved in keeping it up. And I know for me, it's pretty much a full-time job to produce the podcast and the website and the newsletter. But I have a tremendous passion for what I'm doing, and I've been so encouraged by all of you to keep doing it. But there is a reality to deal with, and I have to come up with a way to generate revenue that will cover the cost. And that's where website advertising and your support comes in. Now, there are 2 types of advertising that I do on the Genealogy Gems website. One is the Google ads that provide links to websites related to the topics that I discuss on the website. By simply clicking a Google ad, you generate revenue for Genealogy Gems. It's as simple as that. You don't have to buy anything. Google wants you to check out the websites that they're advertising. So when my listeners click on their ads and look at their website, it benefits Genealogy Gems. It's that simple. You don't have to buy anything. Clicking on the Google ads that appear on the Genealogy Gems website is a fantastic and free way for you to help generate revenue for Genealogy Gems. The second type of advertising that you will see on the Genealogy Gems website is advertiser links. Now, they are the color ads that you see as well as some of the links to products in the articles. Every time you go to a website by clicking one of those links and you buy a product, Genealogy Gems gets credited for sending you there and it generates revenue. Clicking on a link is no different than going to that website directly yourself, except that Genealogy Gems will be credited for getting you there. Once you're there, your shopping and your purchases are completely separate from Genealogy Gems. We never see any personal information at all, ever. And I want to make sure that you understand that. So it would be like someone handing you a flyer with directions to a store. And when you get to the store, you tell them that you found out about them from the flyer. The folks who put out the flyer get credit for sending you there, but have nothing to do with your visit or your shopping experience. It's just like that. And there is no additional cost to you at all. If you go through my link to shop, you are still shopping at their website with the same exact prices. So next time you think, oh, I need to order something from Amazon or iTunes or some other website, think to yourself, I'm going to get to that website through Genealogy Gems so that they get credit for it. With Christmas coming, you could do a lot to help keep the Genealogy Gems podcast from pod fading away by doing your online shopping through the links on my website. One of my favorite ones is Amazon. They're terrific. I have done a large amount of online Christmas shopping through them already this year, and I have been using Amazon for the past 3 or 4 years regularly. They have absolutely everything you could possibly want, competitive pricing. They have free shipping for tons of the stuff, which is a huge bonus. And you pay no tax when you buy on the internet, which is even better. Besides the fact that you're avoiding the mall and the traffic and getting in your car and all that stuff. Amazon will even make suggestions for you if you're having a hard time finding the right thing for someone on your list. And you can even have your family set up wish lists for themselves that you can access to help you shop. And they are incredibly accurate in fulfilling their orders. I've done a lot of ordering through Amazon, and I have never had a problem with a single order. And that leads me to something else I really wanted to tell you. I'm very focused on providing links to companies that I find are safe, secure, and trustworthy. Companies that I have bought from myself, and ones that provide the kinds of products that are really good quality. So I can really say emphatically that I feel very confident that the companies that you would be finding on my website are very, very safe to purchase from. So if you enjoy the podcast, the website, the video casts, and the craft projects, and all the information that you're getting from Genealogy Gems, please partner with me by clicking on the links on the website and doing your online shopping through those links. You can make a huge difference. As long as you're around, I'll be around. Thanks, friend. Here's another little blast from the past gem. Remember when I did some segments many episodes ago about adding silhouette images to your genealogy database to represent ancestors that you may not have photographs for? Well, in that segment, I mentioned a book by Catherine Flocken, and it was called Silhouettes: Rediscovering the Lost Art. Well, I got an email from Catherine recently, which included a really neat short video about the silhouette work that she does. And I have posted it for you at the episode 33 show notes. Just click the play button and you can watch how Catherine cuts her silhouettes freehand, as well as some really interesting facts about their history. Don't miss the video. It is really fun to watch. And it's amazing to watch how she cuts the silhouettes freehand. I mean, she has such great talent, and she does it at some of the major theme parks. So it's really cool. And I'm going to have a link to her MySpace webpage where you can see dozens and dozens of examples of her work. It is a really cool MySpace page. I don't know if you've gotten into MySpace or Facebook or any of the social networking. There are some that are even genealogy specific. But she must be really technically savvy. She's done a beautiful job putting that together. It's got all this music and the silhouettes are flying by, and it's really neat to see. I know she does commission work and that kind of thing. So if you ever want to contact her, you can do it there through her MySpace page. She's at www.myspace.com/paperportraits. And of course, I'll have that link for you in the show notes. And guess what? Catherine is so sweet. She has done a silhouette of yours truly doing what I do, podcasting. What a treat it was to have her do my portrait. So you can see it for yourself in those show notes at episode 33. This next gem is about the history of the census. The census is often the first historical document that we're introduced to when we start tracing our family tree. Well, now you can have a behind-the-scenes look at this priceless genealogical tool at the University of Minnesota's website. It's called usa.ipums.org. And again, I'll have that for you in the show notes. There you will find a page called History of the Census and its Samples. At this website, you can go behind the census scenes. There are two major areas. The first section of the page is called Measuring America, the decennial censuses from 1790 to 2000. And this volume was published by the Census Bureau in 2002. It contains a record of all the census questions, enumerators, instructions, and brief histories of every census from 1790 to the year 2000. Now, the other section is called Histories of Enumeration Procedures for each census. And they have a couple of different links there. One is 1790 through 1940, and then it goes 1940, 50, 60, 70, 80 through the year 2000. These procedural histories provide detailed information on the collection and processing of each item on the census questionnaire. The essay on the 1790 to 1940 census was written by a historian, and the other volumes that you'll see there were published by the Census Bureau shortly after each of those censuses were taken. You'll learn how enumerators were selected, and this was of particular interest to me because one of my husband's great-grandfathers was an enumerator in Minnesota. and how they were trained and supervised and how the public was prepared for the census takers' visit. For folks, particularly in outlying areas or new immigrants, a visit once every 10 years by someone asking a lot of personal questions must have been a little bit intimidating. So they kind of coached them on how to do that. And in 1940, the U.S. was preparing to enter World War II, and the census became more important than ever. And statistics were needed for defense and war agencies. So on the Census History page, click on the 1940 link to read about the process of how the 1940 census was developed in order to meet those needs. If you'd like to learn more about how the history of the census and a website like this can be of real help to you in your own family history research, go to the Genealogy Gems website and click the newsletter button. And at the bottom of the newsletter page, you'll see links to some of the back issues of the Genealogy Gems newsletter. And I've just posted the July 2007 newsletter back issue. So click on that. There's an extensive article in that issue where a listener asked a question, and I was able to answer it using this history of the census information. All in all, the History of the Census webpage is a fascinating look at the origins of all the wonderful data that we rely so heavily on as family historians. Now, to take you back, I have a little treat. This is an old cylinder recording by Edison, and it's called Kraus Meyer Taking the Census. It's performed by Ada Jones and Len Spencer, and it is a funny look at how the folks in 1910 felt about having the census taken. Take a listen.
Good morning, Mrs.
Mulligan, have you played, sir?
Yeah, Mulligan.
Not Mulligan, just plain Mary Ann Mulligan.
Spell it.
Mulligan.
Spell Harrigan.
Mulligan.
Well, Mrs. Mulligan, I come to take the census.
Did you? Well, you shall take nothing round here, so off with you.
But, my dear Mrs. Finnegan, you must let me took the census.
'Tis you that needs them. Said if you had any sense, you'd take yourself off my stoop.
Are you married?
I am.
Whose fault is it?
I don't know.
Your husband's name, please.
The same as mine.
Oh, yes. Dunnigan, is he alive?
You'll think he's alive if he catches you here.
What does he do?
Where?
Where he works?
At the sugar factory.
Well, what does he do by the sugar factory?
I just told you.
Please tell me again.
Where?
Here, now, what kind of monkey business is this?
Shut up. Sure, you're the monkey. I told you before he's away at the sugar factory.
Oh, he weighs sugar. Why didn't you say so? You have a son, I believe.
I have no sons except one, and she's a girl.
Is she like you, yes?
Some say she's just a picture of me.
Oh, what's the difference as long as the child is healthy?
Is that so? Here comes Mike and the men from the factory.
We work 8 hours a day, and I think we earned our pay. When the clock strikes 6, we put down our picks, and a different bit we do till Monday morning.
Mary Ann, I caught you courting a man.
Faith, Mike, I'm only talking to the census man.
Oh, is that it? Boys, he is the census man. Come back and give him your names.
The census man, the census man.
Now then, gentlemen.
Oh, Brian.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes?
All right.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh,
1 minute, please. Here. Hold on. Gentlemen, please. Stop. I come to take the census and I lose my census.
You never had any to lose.
That was a lot of fun. That was Kraus Meyer taking the census. Now, the census must have been quite a topic of discussion back then because in 1921, Cal Stewart did Uncle Josh Takes the Census.
Well, for genuine, blown in the bottle, trademark registered foolishness, I guess I'm the first model the Lord ever made, and I ain't been improved on. They was going to take the census in our county, and I got the appointment to take Pumpkin Center Township, so I started out. I had to go to folks' houses and ask them the darndest lot of questions. I had to ask them where they was born and what for, what their religion was, and whether they was working at it, whether they was married or not, and if married, was they in their right mind at the time of the marriage? Was they white or colored? What was their nationality and why? How many children they had? Did any of them have fits? And did an eclipse of the sun violate the daylight saving law? There was a Swede family in our township, and I went there first. There wasn't anyone at home, only Mrs. Peterson, so I told her I had come to get the census. She said, Oli, he don't been home, and I don't know where he keep us our census. I think he don't got some. Du skal look in barn or in woodshed. When did Oli get them census? I got to laughing so I had to get right out of there. Then I went over to Mandy Perkins, an old maid what lived over on the Willet Creek Road. Well, I told her I wanted to know if she was a widow, married or single, and if any children, how many, that I had come to take the census. Gosh, she got madder than a wet hen. She said I ought to take something, 'cause she never seen a more peaked, run-down-looking old critter in all her born days. She asked me if I had rickets and night sweats, and did I have headache, but she supposed not, 'cause people who wasn't in their right minds hardly ever had headache. It was affliction enough to be simple-minded. She asked me if I suffered from cold feet, and I told her no, that I slept by myself, and then I got out of there. There was an Irish family lived a mile from there. Their name was Maloney. The first one I saw when I got there was Mrs. Maloney, and by that time I was so flabbergasted I didn't know what question to ask first. So I asked her if she had the census. She said, what's the census? Is it anything like the fluenza? I didn't know. Then I told her I had come to take the census, and she said, water, the saints keep us. The poor man is out of his mind. I told her I had my right mind, but didn't think I'd have it much longer. She said, what is it you're after wanting? I told her I had come for the census. She said, you need it. When did you have it last? Did you feel in all of your pockets? I told her I had come to ask her some questions. The law required it. She said, I hope they miss him from the asylum soon. I wish Dennis was home. I asked her if she was married or single, and if single, why. She said, you have it awful bad. You have a punctured tire, and the spark plug in your think box is backfiring. I commenced to think it was, but I asked her if her husband was Hebrew or German, and was she a Baptist or an APA. That's all I remember now. I don't know how or when I got home, but they say Mrs. Maloney was only 2 jumps behind me all the way, and she tore up most of the turnpike road and throwed it at me, and she didn't miss me either. Nancy says she hopes I got some good common sense if I didn't get the census.
We've come to the close of another episode of Genealogy Gems. I hope you'll drop me a line this week at genealogygemspodcast@gmail.com. I really love hearing from all of you guys. It's wonderful. And be sure and visit the website this week, as there are lots of new items there that you'll want to see. Check out the new blog and let me know what you want to ask that special ancestor if you could. I hope you're busily working on your family history Christmas wreath from episode 32. There are 4 videos there on the website to walk you through that little project. And if you get one done, send me a picture. I'd love to see it. So until next time, have a wonderful week, friend, and I'll talk to you soon.